Hi, my name is Kathleen. I'm an alumni camper. I'm 27 years old, and I was a camper from 2002 to 2012. I am now a social worker, and I'm also the parent education and outreach coordinator for Dancing Dreams. Today, I'm going to share with you a book that I really enjoyed. It's called Accidents of Nature by Harriet McBride Johnson. It's a young adult fiction book that I first read probably when I was about 14 or 15. It's actually a book that I read with some of my friends when we were at camp, and then we all passed it along to each other and sort of read it as a group. It's a cool book because it's set at a summer camp for kids with disabilities in the summer of 1970. So there's a lot of stuff about it that reminds me of our camp, except this is set in a time before the Americans with Disabilities Act. So, really, before people with disabilities had any legal rights. And it's also set in the South around the time that racial segregation is ending. So you kind of see the convergence of the budding disability rights movement and the racial justice movement. And the main characters are Sarah, who has muscular dystrophy, and Jean, who's a new camper with cerebral palsy. And this book really meant a lot to me growing up because it was one of the first times and one of the only times I've seen characters with disabilities represented in fiction, and characters with disabilities that really explored their disabled experience. Jean, who is the main character with cerebral palsy, she's kind of struggling with this idea of balancing fitting in with her non disabled peers and embracing her disabled identity. So that's something that always really spoke to me because I think that's something a lot of us struggle with, especially if we go to mainstream schools, sort of figuring out how to navigate fitting in a society that's not always made for you, and learning to be comfortable in your own skin as someone with a disability. I would recommend this book for probably about age 12 and up. It's really witty at a lot of points. There are some parts that are difficult to read, especially because the setting is at a very challenging time in our history before people with disabilities were able to or were expected to do things in mainstream society like we are now. But I think it's an excellent opportunity to consider how far disability rights has come and how far we still have to go, and how important it is to be proud of yourself as a person with a disability. One of the big messages I took away from this was to always be proud of who you are and don't see your disability as a source of shame, because your disability is part of who you are, and it's something you can celebrate even if it's not always easy. So I'm going to read a little portion of the book that I really like about when the campers are going swimming, and this is one of the first times that Jean really learns to feel proud of herself and her disabled body. This is from page 35 in my ebook. It says, "My long legs don't work right, but I'm proud to have them. Proud, in fact, of all my body parts. At the same time, I'm not disgusted by the others, people with pieces missing or mangled. I count it a rare privilege to see them all without their coverings, their equipment, their attachments, their replacement parts, as they really are in all their strange variety." That section in particular to me is really beautiful because it frames the disabled body as part of diversity, and it shows Jean coming around to counting herself as part of the disabled community, and I really love that. So I hope that some of you guys will give this book a try. I think you'll enjoy it. I think there's a lot to think about and discuss, and I think you'll find the characters to be very relatable, and I think that you will really get a kick out of seeing a book take place at a summer camp that is different than ours, but in many ways similar, and I hope it will give you a little bit of that summer camp nostalgia that I think we've all been missing this summer. Okay, thanks for having me. I hope you enjoy the book, and I hope you guys have a great day. Bye!